Hello, I'm here tonight to discuss levels and qualities of being in the Gurdjieff work. I wanted to try and carry on trying to explain how we can develop ourselves and we need to do to be on the path to do that kind of thing. So as usual, I shall start with a quote. This is from All and Everything. The perfection of a being depends on the quality and quantity of his inner experiencings. So once again, it's all about what we're doing with ourselves, that work and effort inside of ourselves, of our intelligence, our emotional and our physical bodies, looking inwards as well as outwards, but looking inwards to see our self-observations of ourselves and how we're dealing with things, how we try to look at things impartially, and just to try and use our conscience and our understanding of the world as it is, but putting ourselves in, hopefully in the right place, in the right position. So let me carry on. The degrees of individuality, the gradations of reason, the totality of self-awareness of all separate, large or small cosmic concentrations, their degree of justification of the sense and aim of their existence. This sacred determinator of pure reason is nothing else than a kind of measure, i.e. a line divided into equal parts. One end of this line is marked as the total absence of any reason, i.e. absolute firm calm, and at the other end there is indicated absolute reason, i.e. the reason of our incomparable creator endlessness. In every free brain being there can be crystallized data for three independent kinds of being mentation, the totality of the engendered results of which expresses the gradation of his reason. And we're all at different stages and different degrees of our reason. And by working on oneself, we can develop that reason to become more harmonious with ourselves and the world and the universe and the whole cosmic connection we have with the divine source. Gurdjieff here calls God the incomparable creator endlessness, because he is the creator and he is an endlessness, or he is the eternity of everything. So we need to, what's he saying? Using our pure reason is nothing else than a kind of measure. And developing pure reason is hard work. We have different personalities in us that think they've got the right, correct reason, and they will try and jump in and say, no, my way's the best way, or, try and make us doubt ourselves. But if we can get to that centered, harmonious side of ourselves that is the true essence and the real I, the genuine I, then pure reason will come through. We will understand the reasoning, the real reason with a capital R. Also from All and Everything. So this is about the main character, Beelzebub. Bit of a spoiler here, but hopefully most of you have read the book already. He, Beelzebub, had attained the reason of the sacred podculard, the last gradation before the reason of the sacred anklard, which is the highest to which in general any being can attain. So we are all trying to attain certain gradations and work our way upwards, going on the vertical and not the horizontal. We want to be the vertical line, developing ourselves to go upwards into the towards the gradations that will take us closer and closer to the divine source, his endlessness in Gurdjieff's work. And by working on ourselves, we go through these different gradations. It's like initiations, and we have to keep doing more tests. Well, not tests, because the tests is the work we're doing on ourselves. And as we complete these tests, we go up a step. And Gurdjieff talks about a ladder, and we're climbing a ladder. And many mystic schools and esoteric schools talk about the ladder that we have to climb. But we don't want to make them steps, big steps, from each big rungs. Otherwise, it's going to be hard work trying to climb up. We need to do little steps. And that's why we work on ourselves in little ways with small aims, so that we can get up that ladder rather than trying to stretch our way up. I don't know if I haven't got the cartoon available, but we want closely connected rungs up our ladder, not great big gaps between them as we work on ourselves. So that's why we do lots of different little workings on ourselves, or looking at our mind, looking at our emotions, looking at how we react, looking at our reason, looking at our self-observation, looking at our self-remembrance, and so on. That's why there's such a vast teaching, because there's lots of little steps that need to be taken. So this is from In Search of the Miraculous by Ouspensky. People living on the earth can belong to very different levels, although in appearance they look exactly the same. You know, and there's that whole thing of, you know, we're all humans, we were all born, you know, and then we will die. But in between, it's what we do with ourselves that will develop us. And, you know, some people use their personalities to bully, or, you know, for example, a lot of stupid people are bullies because they don't know how to use their reason. So instead of trying to educate themselves, instead they use violent ways to get what they want. And we have people that manipulate through their sexual wiles or love or whatever. You know, different people use their reasoning in different ways, and there's different types of people, and we have to consider that as well. And that's another part of the teaching. It's a good way of learning about people and why people are different. We are not all the same, and I know a lot of people don't like to hear that. People want to feel we're all the same and we're all, you know, making the same mistakes or whatever. We do make mistakes, but people do things in different ways because they think differently, they feel differently. You know, you will meet other people that are like yourself and think and feel like yourself, which is great. You know, there's 8 billion of us on the planet, so we can't all be absolutely uniquely different, but we are all different human beings, but we're at different grades, different levels of our development. So also from In Search of the Miraculous, being or existence may be of very different levels and categories. The being of two people can differ from one another more than the being of a mineral and of an animal. A man may possess great knowledge, be, for example, an able scientist, make discoveries, advance science, and at the same time he may be, and has the right to be, a petty, egoistic, cavilling, mean, envious, vain, naive, and absent-minded man. You know, I've met many very scientifically minded people, and they don't have much common sense, bless them, but I'm not saying they're all like that. But you can see how people are different. Sporty people would work more in their physical bodies, in their moving centres, and may not have much emotion, or well, they probably do because they're putting all their emotion into that sporting activity, maybe not too much intellect. Again, that's just being, everyone's different. So you have different sporting, you have a very intelligent sporting people that have to really figure out how they're working on themselves. I'm just trying to give examples. You need to also look at other people as well as yourself, and it is easier to look at other people and how they are than yourself sometimes, but hopefully from doing that it will start making you look at your inner self as well, as to why you do certain things in certain ways and whether you need to break any programming. So also from the In Search of the Miraculous, our ordinary conception of materiality only with difficulty embraces the materiality of worlds 96 and 48. The matter of world 24 is much too rarefied to be regarded as matter from the scientific point of view of our physics and chemistry. Such matter is practically hypothetical. The still finer matter of world 12 has, for ordinary investigation, no characteristics of materiality at all. All the matters interpenetrate one another. So it's not just us humans that are at different levels, it's the different worlds and different parts of the cosmos. And Gurdjieff goes a lot into all this about hydrogens and things like that. It's the different hydrogens in each world is down to the number, and the higher the number, the more laws there are to a world, and the lower the number, like he was discussing world 12 here, the less laws. And we're trying to get out of them laws. We're trying to not let these laws affect us, or we can understand what these laws are so we can work with them. So on that quote, maybe I should have advised first you need to go and study Gurdjieff's cosmology. But we've thrown that one in now. Also from In Search of the Miraculous. One man is immortal, another is not. A third tries to become immortal. A fourth considers himself immortal and is, therefore, simply a lump of flesh. So by working on yourself, you're working on your soul. And a lot of Gurdjieff work is about getting out of this planet. And when you die, instead of coming back, you have built yourself a body to go on to the next level. So this living on this world is another level. And we want to work on ourselves on this other level so that we can develop ourselves into better, more harmonious people. Because if we can reach that harmonious stage of real I and becoming a real man or real woman, then hopefully when we die, we will still live on and become immortal because we've gone on to the next level. Or maybe I'll have to do a show on that as well at some point. Man's being, both in life and after death, may be very different in quality. If there is anything in a man able to resist external influences, then this very thing itself may also be able to resist the death of the physical body. So coming back to like a lot of mysteries and esoteric teachings, how there are many different bodies. And in Egyptian mythology, we have 7 bodies: the Ka, the Ba, the physical body, the shadow body, the dark body, the Kut. I can't remember the rest. Anyway, so we've got in other things like theosophy and anthroposophy, we've got the astral body, the etheric body, all parts of ourselves. And the etheric body, I believe, is the one that's trying to keep, well, or does keep us connected to the divine. It is our kind of like a spiritual body. And there is all this concern about if the dark side can get us cut off from that body, we're cut off from the divine source. We've got to try not to be cut off from our etheric bodies. But it's another part of all these levels is you're not just working on your physical body in all this work, you're working on all your bodies to try and develop them so they all work harmoniously, ready to move you on when it's time to. And also having your physical, etheric and astral body all working together will connect you to them higher centers that we have in ourselves, which is also all part of the getting developed into your harmonious body. Because once you're in this harmonious way of living, hopefully you're listening to your higher centers, which will have the true reason, the real reason, and all the other higher intellect and higher emotions that we need to be able to be genuine I, a genuine real man. So I'm going to do one of Ouspensky's question and answer sessions from his book. So there's the question on what does the difference in level among ordinary people depend? Ouspensky replies, on reliability. Unreliable people cannot get anywhere. And again, this comes down to when you're doing your work on yourself, you need to work on it, put effort into it, and be reliable in it. It's not something we can dilly-dally around and do now and then. We need to really focus on ourselves. And there is a difference when you do, when you really put that conscious concentration into it, you can feel the difference. You can feel it happening. It might be very subtle. I used to be waiting for a da-da, and it took me a long time to realize that there's no da-da. It's a subtle build-up of it all. So, continuing the question and answer session, the question is, how does one develop one's being? And Ouspensky answers, all that you've heard about the possibility of development refers to being. First of all, awakening, since the chief feature of our being is that we are asleep. By trying to awake, we change our being. Then there are many other things, creating unity, not expressing negative emotions, observation, study of negative emotions, trying not to identify, trying to avoid useless talk. All this is work on being. Certainly you acquire certain knowledge in that way, but it is put separately if it is but simply intellectual knowledge. Being is power, power to do, and power to do is power to be different. And so, again, a lot in that answer. we've got knowledge, we're acquiring knowledge. We also need the wisdom to assimilate that knowledge and understand what it is that we're learning and how to use it. You know, it's great to have all this knowledge, but you need the wisdom to go with it. A bit like that scientist I was explaining, of having, you know, he might be super intelligent and know how to make a rocket ship, but he doesn't have any common sense. And for example, with that scientist again, that is just knowledge, and putting that knowledge together, he probably has to ponder on how to make his inventions work and things like that. But it's not a deep esoteric thing, that's a worldly thing. And by doing all our acquiring of knowledge and working on our levels and using reason, it develops our being, which is helping you towards becoming your genuine I, because genuine real man is being, living, being a person. All right, so it's difficult to find a teacher in all this. And, you know, as I've said before, I'm not a teacher. I'm just here to pass on knowledge, try and use it wisely. So from Knott's book, Araj is talking about Gurdjieff, because people were putting him on a bit of a pedestal, and how Gurdjieff must have been trying to work with people that, I know there's a quote from Gurdjieff saying it's really difficult to find someone to talk to that he doesn't have to talk in simplistic terms, but can talk on the same level as him, because he's on a certain level. I would say the same about Krishnamurti, to be honest. I think that Krishnamurti found it, you know, it's easy to talk to people and tell them what to do, and if they're not doing it and they're not coming up to the same level as him, and he also found it hard to find people on the same level as him. You know, it must be quite a lonely life in that kind of sense, but at the same time, thankfully they were there to pass on the knowledge and the wisdom. So this is Araj's opinion of Gurdjieff, and this is in one of the Knott books. We can never understand the being of a man who is on a higher level than our own. Gurdjieff is a kind of walking god, a planetary or even solar god. He said once, "I am the same as other men, but I know and understand more." Another time he said, "I'm small compared with those that sent me." There are always beings higher than anyone we can know. I've never met anyone with even a small portion of Gurdjieff's being and understanding. So Gurdjieff was saying there's people that know more than he does. You know, obviously his teachers that he was seeing, you know, in his books, he talks about the Sangmo monastery that he went to. But it's the way he developed himself and took him up through the levels that made him, you know, different to other people. And people do put people like himself on pedestals, and that's hard for anybody. Nobody wants to be put on a pedestal, really, apart from egocentric people, and they've obviously not got real being. Something to watch out for. And Araj also said, "I thank God every day of my life that I met Gurdjieff." And I could say the same. I thank God that I found the Gurdjieff work and the Gurdjieff books. Sounds a bit odd, but when I was introduced to them, in fact, it was John Anthony West that introduced them to me in a trip to Egypt. So I was very lucky to be told about him by such a great guy as him. But I'd studied all other kinds of things throughout the years: theosophy, anthroposophy, you know, Buddhism, Hinduism, you name it. I had a look at it, paganism, blah, blah, blah. And Gurdjieff does say at some point that, you know, go and look at everything else and then come back to me, have some knowledge behind you. So he is Gurdjieff's work, I think, is quite difficult to dive into if you haven't already looked at what else is out there, because everything has a hint of truth into it and a bit of wisdom to it. And it's just bringing out them snippets and little gold nuggets that we need to send us forward, onwards on our path, so that we know that we're doing the right thing. If you've had that calling in you already, then you know that you're doing the right thing, but it's a difficult path to find. There's lots of false writing out there, a lot of mixed up writing, a lot of writing taken out of context. You know, and we're very lucky that Gurdjieff made all his books available for everybody with no copyright to them, and hopefully they will not be tampered with like many esoteric stuff is, and hopefully they will stay pure. But they take a lot of effort to read, and one has to dive in, get that knowledge, and then ponder upon it so that one can go through the levels and develop oneself. Thanks again for listening. Peace to you all.